Everybody, thanks for joining me as we take a look at your Thanksgiving weekend forecast, and we are obviously going to focus mostly on the snowstorm that's coming tomorrow. First, significant snow. It will be somewhat elevation dependent. This probably won't be really a significant snow if you live down in the Connecticut River Valley, if you live down Manchester, down in Bennington, that area. Even up in Rutland, I would say probably not that significant snow. But if you head up the hills at all, it will definitely be snow, maybe some rain mixed in. We'll get to the details, and then the highest elevations, a decent snowfall out of this. So yeah, definitely an impressive system getting going, and cold afterwards. So in terms of getting the ski season going, we are definitely going to see what we need, which is a little bit of natural snow. Certainly the ski areas are going to get that. That's really good for them. And then also some really good snowmaking conditions all of next week. It looks like the end of the weekend and all of next week really should allow the trail, some trail numbers to come up, areas to get open and things like that. So that's really good news. So in terms of if you're up for Thanksgiving, and a lot of areas do open up this weekend if you want to get out and ski, the skiing should be pretty good. Now, obviously, the natural snow on the trails that they've already got some snow made, which there are places where that is the case. You'll have a little bit of a powder day tomorrow, and maybe even a little leftover on Friday morning. Not going to be like epic. It's going to be heavy, wet snow. This is early season snow, but definitely helpful. So what's going on? You can see we get all sorts of energy, different pieces of energy coming together across the kind of Mississippi River Valley currently right now. This is eventually going to coalesce into a storm. You're still got a pretty good west to east movement here. The system isn't really going to cut itself off dramatically, so it's not going to be a blockbuster or anything like that, but it is going to be relatively strong. It's got a decent amount of moisture associated with it, and it is going to tap some colder air, marginally colder air, that's going to allow for the snow to fall. It is definitely going to look good, look pretty out there. It's going to feel a little more like Christmas than Thanksgiving, really. So here we go. Here's the moisture just starting to get going, and we're going to tap some Gulf moisture. We're eventually going to wrap in some Atlantic moisture as the system moves through. It is going to be a pretty quick mover. So precipitation is going to start a little bit before daybreak tomorrow, and the heaviest of it will be done by tomorrow afternoon into the early evening. So 12 hours to 15 hours of really the heart of the storm, with about a 6-hour period where it snows pretty good or rains pretty good, depending on what elevation you're at. So that's what's going on. Let's take a look at the upper level. You can see we still have, here's our kind of upper level low that's to the north of us. We talked about this a bunch the other day if you watched my Monday morning forecast. This has evolved somewhat in between, not surprisingly. Usually when you have two models that are really, and the main two models are the European and the American model. Those are the two higher resolution global scale models that tend to kind of dominate. Most everything is a derivation of those. There are some other global models, but they're done at much less resolution, the Canadian model, things like that. They just don't have the same computing power. So what that means is when you have those two models kind of with two very different solutions, usually one is closer to accurate, but usually the other one is picking some stuff up, and that's what happened here too, right? Like, so the American model was way out to sea. The GFS was way out to sea kind of on Monday. The European was kind of almost inland, giving us quite a bit of mixing. We ended up with a track closer to the European, but an evolution of the storm a little closer to the American model. So the system isn't quite as strong as the system it was looking like on the European model the other day. That has to do with the placement of this low, upper level low to our north and west. We did get some ridging, which allowed things to kind of curve towards us a little bit, but not significant enough to really deepen. The shortwave is not as strong as the European was. That's a lot of blah, blah, blah. Obviously, if you're not a weather geek, but if you are, you might have understood some of that. It's been interesting to watch how this system has come together. Temperatures, again, kind of marginal, definitely cold enough to our north. We're going to tap some of that at the surface areas, chilly, not cold. There is some real cold, not even so much here. If you go up into, they're 20 to 30 below zero in eastern Alaska and in the Yucatan, in the Yukon. In the Yucatan, they're definitely warmer than 30 below zero. But anyways, not surprising for this time of year, but cold, and we are going to tap some of that as we get seasonably quite below average for next week, with temperatures struggling to get to the 30s for daytime highs and a lot of lows in the teens, I would say, is what it's looking like next week. So let's take a look at kind of the evolution of the storm as I expect it to happen. This is a short-range model that does a pretty good job of representing. So you can see at the higher elevations, we start off as snow, but you can see the valleys. We've got rain up the Hudson River Valley, certainly, up the Connecticut River Valley a little bit less. And I think probably rain is mixed in some of the lower elevations than the model even shows. Eventually, we do mostly change to snow. Everybody will probably end with a little bit of snow, and then the system is out of here. So we'll go through that one more time just to kind of give you a better look at it. So start time here is about somewhere between 3 and 5 a.m. in southern Vermont. We start off with kind of lighter snow for a couple of hours or lighter drizzle in the lower elevations. As things pick up, that's when basically from 10 to 3 p.m. is when we see that happen, and that's when the toughest travel is going to happen. That's when the most of the snow is going to happen. We could see snowfall rates of 1 to 1.5 inches an hour across southern Vermont at times at the higher elevations. So roads could be pretty bad for a while early on tomorrow afternoon. So if you're trying to get somewhere tomorrow, I would suggest going early and then trying to get there. And then if you're going to head home, wait until the evening, give things a chance to quiet down a little bit. Things should get better pretty quickly. All right, so here's overall snowfall totals, what I'm kind of thinking for southern Vermont. Basically, we're looking at higher elevations, 4 to 7 inches, 2 to 5, basically for most of us, more like 2 if you're the Connecticut River Valley up to like Springfield. As you start to head west of there, you go 3, 4, 5 pretty quickly. It'll be elevation dependent. So, of course, there are hills kind of, I can't like show every little hill in Vermont, but you know where you are if you live on the hill. We'll talk about some elevation specific kinds of things. You get a little bit snow, you won't get quite as much snow shielded to the west of the greens here, and also a little bit more in the way of rain mixed in. So places like Manchester, probably only 2 to 3 inches of snow, maybe only a couple 1 to 2 inches of snow, I would think in Bennington. These numbers could fluctuate. We're close. So a degree or two change, right? If we're a couple degrees colder, you just make the 4 to 7 all of a sudden becomes 6 to 10, and the 2 to 5 becomes 4 to 7. That's not impossible, and basically going to be hard to really tell until it starts, unfortunately. So you should be prepared, even in the areas in the light blue, that you could get snow. And if it snows and it's more snow than it's thinking currently, then these numbers, you'll just have to bump them up. Or if it's a little bit warmer than we're thinking, you could be basically mostly rain in the valleys, and the 2 to 5 could be where it's blue, and you could have the kind of 4 to 7 for the mountaintops. This is my best estimate right now. I do think that's what we're looking at. But again, this system, it's so marginal, half a degree difference in the actual evolution of the atmosphere, and these numbers change pretty significantly. So not much we can do about that, except for just kind of give you the range of outcomes. But this is best guess, or best estimation, I should say. Let's take a look at the, let's go back. I missed my storm details here. Here we go. Thursday storm details. Precipitation starts between 3 and 5 a.m. It's heaviest between about 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. Below 750 feet. So here's an idea. If you know what elevation you live at, that's probably just an inch or two of slush, basically, right? So if you're in one of the valleys, even along the West River Valley, if you live right along the river as you kind of come up the West River, for instance, or if you live like along the Williams River, if you live up on the Black River, things like that. If you live right on the river, and you know, well, I'm only at 800 feet, or I'm at 700 feet or so, probably only an inch or two. As you get a bit above 750 feet to 1,250 feet, that's where the 3 to 7 inches is more likely. 3 if you're closer to 750 feet. 1,250 feet, you're probably closer to the 7 inches. And then above 1,250 feet, mostly snow. Where it's mostly snow, I would say 6 to 10 inches. If you get above 1,500, above 1,750 feet, if you live a little higher up than that, and the snow isn't quite as heavy and wet, you could be talking a foot plus in some of those areas. So I wouldn't be surprised if the ski areas got like 10 to 16 inches out of this for the top of the ski areas. But most of us, anywhere where you're going to drive, it's not really going to be more than like that 6 to 10. It's really just the ski areas that might get those bigger amounts. If you do happen to see the ski areas, you say, boy, I didn't get 14 inches of snow where I live, and I live pretty high up even. That's just because, that extra elevation. Very few of us live above 2,000 feet, but most of the ski areas are above 2,000 feet. So there you go. Let's go back and take a quick look at the weekend forecast. In general, I've got wintry mix. Most of that we've gone over why that's mixed. By the evening, it's all snow. Temperatures highs have about 30. Some flurries left over on Friday. Pretty numerous flurries. I don't think too much accumulation. Maybe on some western-facing slopes, you could get an inch or two of snow possibly. Be aware of that. Could be some slick driving if you're heading over the greens potentially in just some of those spots that normally get those kinds of things. Temperatures in the mid-30s. Then we cool off pretty significantly as the storm starts to tap that colder air. Temperatures in the low to mid-20s all overnight Friday into Saturday. Saturday, a few leftover flurries here. I don't think you have to worry even about any accumulation in the favored spots, but there could be some flurries in the air, just an FYI. Temperatures around freezing. Pretty chilly on Saturday. Saturday overnight, mid-20s. And then we cool off maybe with an added added Arctic front heading through with temperatures not even probably getting to 30 for most of us. Some places will get to 30 on Sunday, but not for all of us, and the temperatures fall into the teens. And we're looking at a lot of weather like this for the first half of next week. There's another chance for a storm, potentially with some snow. Looks like a weaker storm potentially for the end of next week. We'll definitely get into that as we go through things. Let's take a quick look at those weekend details. Snow for Thanksgiving with some slush in other places, a few slushy inches below 1,250 feet, more significant above 1,250 feet, breezy and seasonably cold for Friday through Sunday, and next week seasonably cold weather will continue. That's basically what we're looking at weather-wise. I do want to give a quick shout out to my patrons to help support what I do here. If you're interested in becoming a patron, you can check the link in the description below. I really appreciate them. They help support the channel. They help make sure that they pay for my subscriptions to different weather things and stuff like that. I really appreciate that. And if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel before, I'd encourage you to do so. Helps make sure you don't miss any of my videos. Give a like to the video too. That kind of helps new people find the channel. And so, yeah, we appreciate it. I'll be back sometime, probably not till Saturday or Friday evening or Saturday, with an updated look at like the weekend forecast. We'll talk a little bit about the weather next week. I'll definitely be back on Monday as well. We'll look at next week's weather, and it does look like it could be interesting. So check back frequently because I will be back with more forecasts than I had been over the summer, because the weather's starting to get interesting in a winter way. All right, we'll see you in a few days.